The time is precisely 6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Dhalmin Samarasinghe and read by Ramesh Piris. First, the headlines. The licensed foreign employment agencies say foreign countries are willing to provide employment for Sri Lankan workers. The government takes a policy decision to achieve decarbonization by 2050. The foreign minister refutes the alleged purchase of weapons from North Korea. 21 Indian fishermen held for poaching in Sri Lankan territorial waters. 4 members of the same family die in a fatal accident between a three-wheeler and a train. And in news overseas, COVID thwarts travel plans for millions in Lunanivia. In sports, Premier League clubs spent £295 million on transfers. And now the local news in detail. The Association of Licensed Foreign Employment Agencies handed over a cheque for ₹6 million to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa at Temple Trees yesterday to enhance performance of Itukama COVID-19 Health and Social Security Fund. It was stated at the meeting that the government's program to eradicate COVID in Sri Lanka and the expeditious vaccination process have been praised abroad. Officials of the Association of Licensed Foreign Employment Agencies said foreign countries are more willing to provide employment for Sri Lankan workers as a result. The attention of the Foreign Ministry has been drawn to a news item appearing on the newsfirst.lk website titled "We Purchased Weapons from North Korea Using Black Market Dollars," Minister Basil yesterday. The Foreign Ministry states that Minister Professor G.L. Piris has spoken in this regard with his cabinet colleague, Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa, who has categorically denied the comments attributed to him in the said news item. In a special operation conducted by Sri Lanka Navy and Coast Guard, 2 Indian trawlers with 21 Indian fishermen were held for poaching in Sri Lankan territorial waters of Kuvilian and Point Pedro Lighthouse, Jaffna last night. The special operation was conducted by the 4th Fast Attack Flotilla in the Northern Naval Command, a fast patrol boat of Sri Lankan Coast Guard with the assistance of the Navy's Special Boat Squadron. Minister Ramesh Pathirana says that the government condemns the egg attack on the vehicle of JVP leader Anurakumara Dissanayake, who attended a political meeting. He mentioned this while attending the cabinet press briefing today at the Government Information Department. He said an impartial investigation would be conducted into the incident. 4 members of the same family have died in a fatal accident between a three-wheeler and a train in Galle today. The accident has taken place this morning on the level crossing at Rilava Junction in Busa. The mother, father, son, mother-in-law of the driver and daughter-in-law has been travelling in a three-wheeler at the time of the accident. All of them were rushed to the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital following the fatal collision, but they have succumbed to injuries. They were identified as residents of the same area. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
The medical insurance plan that begins at the age of 60. Medi60 from Sri Lanka Insurance.
The Electricity Board Additional General Manager and Media Spokesman Andrew Navamani said that one of the generators at the Norachuli coal power plant has malfunctioned again. He said the generator was suspended due to a leakage of the pressure regulator. Therefore, he said 270 megawatts of power generation added to the national grid has been stopped. The Institute of National Security Studies, the premier think tank on national security, established under the Ministry of Defence, organised a closed-door roundtable discussion titled "Combating the Financing of Terrorism to Affirm National Security" recently. The discussion involved top experts from the fields of security, intelligence and finance. Chief Inspector J.M.M. Jayasundara from Criminal Investigation Department presented a domestic case study of terrorist financing in Sri Lanka. It was followed by Mr. Ayesh Arya Singh, Deputy Director of the Financial Intelligence Unit of the Central Bank, delivering on the role and capabilities of the Financial Intelligence Unit in Sri Lanka. Adjunct Professor, Anthropologist and Intelligence Data Scientist Dr. Rasheen Bapu made a presentation on global and regional terror groups and financing. The number of COVID and dengue patients admitted to Angoda Infectious Diseases Hospital has increased. There are 150 COVID patients and 30 dengue patients under treatment at the hospital. Hospital authorities said among them are patients who need oxygen. 2 people have died and 4 others have been seriously injured in an accident near Tulhiri Industrial Estate on Colombo-Kurunegala Main Road. A bus and a 3-wheeler had collided head-on. Among the dead is a 10-year-old girl. Varakapula police said the victims are residents of Kanduthara area. And that ends local news.
The medical insurance plan that begins at the age of 60. Medi60 from Sri Lanka Insurance. A health insurance plan to honor our most valued elders by the protectors of the nation. We now give our treasured senior citizens access to the very best medical insurance, specially tailored for anyone over 60. What's more, you don't need medical screening to access this policy. And Medi60 covers a wide range of illnesses. Only from Sri Lanka Insurance. Call 0112 357 357.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The government has taken a policy decision to achieve the goal of decarbonisation by the year 2050 while taking action to minimise gas emissions in the industries where electricity and transport sectors as well as thermal power utilisation. The cabinet spokesman said in order to realise the goal, the government has recognised the requirement of gradually converting from fossil fuel to green energy production and consumption by changing the energy supply network. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
In March night, tuition classes and other related activities aimed at candidates of GCE Advanced Level Examination will be banned from midnight today until the exam concludes on March 5th. Accordingly, conducting and organising tuition classes, seminars, workshops and lectures in respect of the exam are strictly prohibited during that period. And that came to you in Watch Night. A bulletin of world news is next. Moving on to the bulletin of world news, first the headlines. COVID thwarts travel plans for millions in Lunar New Year. Number 10 pledges updated report after police inquiry finishes. New Zealand allows in pregnant reporter who sought Taliban help. Now the world news in detail. COVID-19 has dampened the travel plans for millions of Chinese for the Lunar New Year for a third straight year. Pre-pandemic, the celebration would see as many as 3 billion trips made across China and was the world's largest annual migration of people. But resurgent virus outbreaks have forced many to cancel their plans. Chinese officials have enforced strict measures with days to go before the 2022 Winter Olympic begins. Downing Street has said an updated report on lockdown parties at number 10 will be published by Sue Gray once police finish their inquiries. Prime Minister Boris Johnson met with Tory MPs yesterday to reassure them and promise a shake-up of how number 10 is run. Senior civil servant Ms. Gray concluded there was a failure of leadership over the 16 events she examined. However, the full report has not been published while the police investigate alleged COVID rule breaking. A pregnant New Zealand journalist who said she turned to the Taliban for help after being unable to return home has been granted re-entry after an outcry. Charlotte Bayliss said she had been flown to Afghanistan after being unable to get an entry spot under New Zealand's strict COVID border rules. Her story highlighted Wellington's tough border measures which are designed to keep out the coronavirus. Back to the headlines of the world news. COVID thwarts travel plans for millions in Lunar New Year. Number 10 pledges updated report after police inquiry finishes. New Zealand allows in pregnant reporter who sought Taliban help. And that concludes the bulletin of world news.
Development News is brought to you by Let's take all out of the coconut tree and make the island thriving and prosperous. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
Construction of Madurai Southern Bank Development Project are now taking place. It will cost more than 30,000 million rupees. The project will benefit people in Ampara and Batiklo districts. 5 tanks will also be built under the project. 5,500 farmer families will be settled in the area and 10 habitats will be set up to accommodate them. And that's development news.
Development News was brought to you by the coconut tree is well grown in almost all the parts of the island. It is an exceptional source of extra income. The shell, the husk and almost all the parts of the coconut tree makes you money, providing you with an excellent extra source of income. It will also help to nourish the economy of the country. You will be guided with all necessary informations regarding the coconut cultivation with the novel cultivation techniques and all other related and upgraded informations by the Coconut Research Institute, Lunavilla. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Moving on to sports news, first it's cricket. The ninth match of the National Super League Limited Over tournament was played between Colombo and Jaffna at SSA grounds in Colombo today. Batting first, Colombo scored 247 for 8 wickets in 50 overs. Jaffna won the match by 6 wickets by scoring 248 for 4 wickets in 46.4 overs. Meanwhile, the 10th match of the National Super League Limited Over tournament between Kandy versus Gaul was played today at P. Sarvanamuthu's grounds in Colombo. Kandy scored 269 in 50 overs. Gaul was able to score only 173 in 42.2 overs. Accordingly, Kandy won the match by 96 runs. In other sports news, Premier League clubs completed their second highest spending January in history with a total of £295 million spent as Tottenham made the biggest moves on deadline day. A total of 12 Premier League transfers on deadline day took spending to the highest total since 2018's £430 million. And finally in sports, starting off the Winter Olympics will be a surreal moment, says Team GB curler Bruce Mott, as he and playing partner Jen Dodds prepare to compete in the mixed doubles. The pair faces Sweden tomorrow as the Beijing Games get underway 2 days before the official opening ceremony in Beijing. And that was sports news.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by
National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
A consortium of investors put together and managed by private equity firm Tempest PE Partners and led by Associated Electricals Corporation Limited has partnered a management buyout of SLT Campus Private Limited from Sri Lanka Telecom for ₹410 million. Tempest 2, which is a special purpose vehicle created to facilitate the acquisition, also injected ₹290 million in fresh equity into SLTC to support the growth plans of the campus. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic news, courtesy of
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
Headline inflation, as measured by the year-on-year change in the Colombo Consumer Price Index, increased to 14.2% in January 2022 from 12.1% in December 2021. Meanwhile, on an annual average basis, the Colombo Consumer Price Index increased to 6.9% in January 2022 from 6% in December 2021. And that was economic news. The weather report is next.
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act No. 42 of 2011.
Finally, moving on to the weather report, the Met Department says except for a few showers in Gaul, Mathura, Ratnapura and Kalutara districts during the evening, mainly fair weather will prevail over the island. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the central, Sabaragamuwa, north central and northwestern provinces during the morning. And that was the weather report. And in this news broadcast, a recap of the main news headlines. The licensed foreign employment agencies say foreign countries are willing to provide employment for Sri Lankan workers. The government takes a policy decision to achieve decarbonization by 2050. The foreign minister refutes the alleged purchase of weapons from North Korea. 21 Indian fishermen held for poaching in Sri Lankan territorial waters. 4 members of the same family die in fatal accident between a three-wheeler and a train. In news overseas, COVID thwarts travel plans for millions in Lunar New Year. In sports, Premier League clubs spent £295 million on transfers. And that concludes this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Over to Chandima to keep you entertained till the end of transmission.